Why did brothers fight brothers? Why did Americans fight their fellow countrymen? Let's learn about the causes of the Civil War. One of the main causes was sectionalism. The North and the South were very different. The North had an industrial economy based on factories. Their people lived in cities. The North sold most of their products to other countries, and therefore they liked the tariff, a tax on imports. The South had an agricultural economy based on plantations. Slaves worked in fields, picking cotton that was sold to the North to make cloth. The South didn't have many factories, so they had to buy their products in stores like this one. The tariff made their prices higher, and so they opposed it. Another cause of the Civil War was slavery. As the U.S. grew westward, adding new states caused conflict between the North and the South. They wanted to balance power in Congress, so in 1820 they came up with the Missouri Compromise, which added Missouri as a slave state and Maine as a free state, and divided future territories into free and slave. When the U.S. won the Mexican War in 1848, they gained a lot of territory in the West. What should we do with this territory? Should it be free or should it be slave? A man named Henry Clay came up with the Compromise of 1850. It allowed California to come into the U.S. as a free state, while allowing Utah and New Mexico to decide if they wanted to be free or slave. The South still wasn't happy. They thought the North had more territory, and so in 1854 they proposed the Kansas-Nebraska Act. Kansas and Nebraska territories would get to vote to decide if they were going to be free or slave states when they came into the U.S. Many pro- and anti-slavery forces flooded into Kansas so that they could participate in the vote. Violence broke out and over 200 people were killed. Kansas got the nickname Bleeding Kansas because of this. Another dispute happened when a slave named Dred Scott sued for his freedom after living in the North. His case was taken all the way to the Supreme Court, where the court decided that slaves were property and not citizens, and therefore could not sue in court. This angered abolitionists greatly. One of these abolitionists was named John Brown. He was a radical abolitionist, meaning that he thought violence could help to end slavery. In 1859, he attacked a federal armory where weapons were stored, hoping to give these weapons to slaves, who would then fight for their freedom and end slavery. His attack was unsuccessful, and he was hung for treason. Our last major cause of the Civil War was called states' rights. The South believed that they should be left alone to live life as they chose. One of the men who fought for states' rights was named John C. Calhoun. He was the vice president under Andrew Jackson. He believed that because the tariff was bad for the South, they should be able to nullify it or ignore it. One of the major reasons why the South felt so strongly about states' rights was that they wanted to keep the practice of slavery. They believed that slavery was essential to their way of life and just wanted to be left alone. After all the arguments, debates, and discussions, the North and the South's tensions were at a breaking point. The election of 1860 was the final straw. In 1860, there were 4 men running for president: Abraham Lincoln, Stephen Douglas, John Bell, and John C. Breckinridge. Abraham Lincoln was the Republican candidate for president. The Republican Party strongly felt that slavery should not be allowed to expand into Western territories. Stephen Douglas was the Democrats' candidate for the North. Northern Democrats supported popular sovereignty, allowing the states to choose whether or not they wanted to be free or slave. John C. Breckinridge was the Democrats' candidate for the South. Southern Democrats strongly supported slavery. Finally, John Bell was the presidential candidate for the Constitutional Union Party. He did not take a firm stand on slavery, but wanted to preserve the Union at all costs. With 4 very different men running for president at the same time, America had a hard time deciding who would be the best choice to lead the nation. Abraham Lincoln won all of the northern states. John C. Breckinridge won most of the South, and Stephen Douglas and John Bell won a few states too. But Abraham Lincoln won the electoral vote, so therefore he became the 16th president of the U.S. Many Southerners believed that Abraham Lincoln wanted to get rid of slavery, and so South Carolina was the first state to secede or leave the United States. Many other states in the South followed South Carolina's lead and left the U.S. as well. They met together and formed a new country called the Confederate States of America. The Civil War was on.